My beloved child, before you move any further, stay with me for one quiet moment. You may have arrived here while your mind was already carrying 10 other thoughts. Perhaps your phone was in your hand, another message was waiting, an opportunity had appeared, or something recently happened that made your heart whisper, finally. Perhaps nothing dramatic happened at all, yet something within you has been restless, as though you are standing near a decision you cannot fully explain. Whatever brought you here, do not rush to turn this moment into a sign you must fear. Let it become something gentler, an invitation to become still enough to notice what your excitement may have moved past too quickly. There are moments when wisdom begins with a pause, not because something terrible must be hiding ahead, and not because every good thing should be questioned, but because a peaceful heart can often notice what an hurried heart overlooks. Maybe that is the reason these words matter to you now. Maybe this moment can become a divine appointment, not because you must believe that every detail around you carries a hidden message, but because you can choose to meet this moment with me, instead of allowing urgency to lead you through it. My child, I know what it feels like when something you have wanted seems suddenly close enough to touch. After waiting, hoping, praying, and wondering whether anything would change, good news can feel like rain after a long dry season. Your imagination can begin moving ahead almost immediately. You picture what could happen next. You begin arranging tomorrow around what you just heard today. You feel energy returning to places that had grown tired. There is nothing shameful about that joy. I am not asking you to become suspicious of happiness. I am not asking you to distrust every open possibility. I am asking you to stay close enough to me that excitement does not have to carry the responsibility of deciding what is wise. So before you answer that message, before you agree because you are afraid the opportunity may disappear, before you build an entire future around a conversation that has only just begun, remain here for another moment. Breathe. Let the first rush of emotion settle. Listen to what is happening inside you. Is there peace beneath the excitement or pressure? Are you being given room to think, or do you feel pushed to decide before you can ask questions? Are you drawn forward by clarity, or by the fear that this may be your only chance? You do not have to answer those questions yet. I only want you to notice them. There is a difference between discernment and suspicion. Suspicion looks everywhere for something to fear. Discernment simply refuses to close its eyes, and I do not want fear to become your teacher. I want wisdom to become your companion. That is why this pause matters. You may discover that what is before you is healthy and worth receiving. You may discover that you need more time, more information, more prayer, or a conversation with someone trustworthy. You do not have to decide that now. This moment is not asking you for a verdict. It is asking you for attention. My beloved child, perhaps the hidden message is simpler than you expected. You are allowed to slow down. You are allowed to look closer. You are allowed to ask a reasonable question without believing you are ruining something good. You are allowed to bring your excitement into prayer before you bring your answer into the world. What is true does not become less true because you examine it carefully. What is healthy does not need your panic in order to survive, and your future is not so fragile that one thoughtful pause can destroy everything meant to nourish your life. So stay near me at this threshold. Do not run forward because you are afraid of missing something, and do not run backward because these words made you nervous. Just remain here long enough for your heart to become quiet. There is something important to understand before you take the next step, and it begins not with what is waiting in front of you, but with why a part of you feels that you must say yes so quickly. My child, the reason part of you wants to say yes so quickly may have very little to do with impatience, and much more to do with how tired you have become. You have carried uncertainty longer than most people realize. They may see the opportunity in front of you, but they do not see the months behind it. They do not see the mornings when you checked your phone hoping for different news, the evenings when you tried not to think about how slowly life seemed to be moving, or the quiet prayers you repeated because you did not know what else to say. They do not know how many times you encouraged yourself to keep going when nothing around you seemed to confirm that anything was changing. That kind of waiting can leave a hidden weariness in the heart. You still function. You answer messages. You show up for work. You take care of what needs your attention. You smile when someone asks how you are doing, Yet beneath the ordinary rhythm of your days, there has been an emotional fatigue that few people have noticed. You have grown tired of uncertainty, tired of getting your hopes up, tired of wondering whether another month will look exactly like the last one, tired of watching other people move into seasons you thought you would have entered by now. And after carrying that silent struggle for so long, even a small piece of good news can feel larger than it is because it touches the place in you that has been starving for relief. I understand why your heart responds that way. I understand why one promising conversation can suddenly make you imagine an entire future. I understand why an unexpected offer can make your shoulders feel lighter before you have even examined what it requires. I understand why hearing the words you have wanted to hear can awaken hope so quickly that caution almost feels painful. You are not foolish for feeling excited. You are tired. There is a difference. Sometimes what you want most in that moment is not even the opportunity itself. You want the waiting to be over. You want the uncertainty to stop following you into quiet rooms. You want to wake up without wondering when your life will finally move. You want something to reassure you that all those months were leading somewhere. And when something promising appears, part of you may whisper, "Please let this be it. Please let me finally have an answer." That whisper carries more weight than anyone around you may understand. Perhaps you have also become tired of explaining your season. Someone asks what is happening, and you give a simple answer, because the real answer would take too long. Someone tells you to be patient, and you nod even though patience has already cost you more than they know. Someone celebrates their own good news, and you genuinely rejoice with them while another part of your heart quietly wonders when you will have something to celebrate too. These are not always dramatic wounds. Often they are small aches repeated over time. A disappointment here, another delay there, a promise that did not become what you expected, a conversation that seemed hopeful and then went quiet, an opportunity that almost happened, another ordinary morning when nothing had changed. Little by little, the heart becomes tired of almost. And when you have lived with almost for long enough, finally can become a very powerful word. Beloved, I am not asking you to correct any of these feelings right now. I am not asking you to become less excited or more suspicious. I am not asking you to turn your joy into caution before you have even allowed yourself to feel it. For this moment, simply recognize what your heart has been carrying. There is exhaustion beneath some of your urgency. There is disappointment beneath some of your excitement. There may even be a quiet fear beneath your hope, the fear that if you do not take this chance immediately, you will return to the same waiting you have worked so hard to endure. That fear, my child, those words do not make you weak. They reveal how deeply you have longed for relief. Stay here with me without judging yourself for that longing. Let the tired part of you be honest. Let the disappointed part speak without being hurried into a lesson. Let the hopeful part breathe without having to prove that this opportunity is the answer. Because before you decide what the moment in front of you means, there is something important to notice about the pressure rising inside you. Somewhere between receiving good news and imagining what it could become, excitement can quietly begin turning into urgency, and urgency can make a tired heart feel as though it no longer has permission to wait. My child, this is where I want you to notice what may have been happening beneath the urgency, because pressure rarely begins with the words, "I am afraid." Sometimes it sounds much more convincing. It says, "This may be your only chance." It says, "You have waited long enough." It says, "If you hesitate, someone else will take what could have been yours." And after a long season of uncertainty, those thoughts can feel less like fear and more like common sense. But listen carefully to what they begin saying about you. If this opportunity feels like your only chance, then losing it starts to feel like losing your future. If this person's approval feels necessary, then their rejection begins to feel like proof that you are not enough. If this answer seems like the one thing that can finally end your waiting, then asking questions can begin to feel dangerous. That is how a false belief quietly gains influence. It does not always ask you to believe something obviously untrue. It simply takes a real desire and attaches your identity to the outcome. You begin with, "I hope this works," and somewhere along the way it becomes, "I need this to work so I can finally know that I have not been forgotten." My child, fear knows how to use a tired heart. It reminds you of every delay, It points toward people who seem farther ahead. It brings back the opportunities that disappeared, the conversations that ended differently than you hoped, the prayers that still seem unanswered. Then it places one painful conclusion over all of them. Maybe there is something wrong with you. Maybe you are not enough. Maybe you have already missed too much. Maybe this is the last good thing that will come your way. And when self-doubt has repeated those ideas long enough, urgency begins to feel reasonable. You stop asking whether something is wise because you are too afraid of losing it. You overlook questions you would normally ask. You explain away the uneasiness you would normally notice. You tell yourself not to think too much because you remember how painful waiting has been. Beloved, I am not saying that the opportunity before you is wrong. I am showing you something closer to home. Fear should not be allowed to decide how quickly you move toward it. The lie is not necessarily that the good news is false. The deeper lie is that you must secure it immediately, or your future will somehow become smaller. The lie says you are running out of time. The lie says one decision carries the weight of your entire life. The lie says you must prove that you are finally chosen, finally successful, finally wanted, finally moving forward. And beneath all of those voices is the oldest ache. You are forgotten. You are not enough. Look at what happens when those beliefs enter an ordinary moment. Your phone lights up with the message you hoped would come, and before you have even finished reading it, your mind is already afraid of losing what it might mean. Someone offers you something promising, but instead of feeling free to ask questions, you begin worrying that questions will make them withdraw the offer. A relationship suddenly becomes more serious, and instead of noticing whether trust is growing slowly and consistently, part of you wants reassurance immediately because uncertainty has hurt before. A decision is placed in front of you, and the words, "We need an answer today," make your heart race because you have begun believing that hesitation will cost you the future you deserve. This is why awareness matters. Not so you can distrust everything, not so you can become suspicious of every person who brings good news, but so you can recognize when an old wound is trying to make a new decision. You do not have to shame yourself when you notice it. Awareness is not accusation. It is light entering a room that has been crowded with assumptions. You can simply say, "I am more afraid of losing this than I realized. I am asking this opportunity to reassure me that I matter. I am rushing because waiting has made me tired." That honesty is not failure. It is the beginning of freedom from a belief that has been quietly choosing for you. So remain here for another moment. Do not reject what is before you, and do not rush to possess it. Notice the story fear has been telling about what will happen if you wait. Notice what self-doubt says this opportunity must prove about you. Then let the question become simpler. If you already knew that one opportunity could never determine your worth or contain your entire future, would you still feel that you had to decide this quickly? My child, that question opens the way to something fear rarely gives you permission to do. It allows you to look closer. My child, now look again, but this time do not look at yourself through the eyes of urgency. You have been afraid that slowing down might mean you are indecisive, unprepared, or somehow less courageous than the person who moves quickly. But that is not what I see. I see something different beginning within you. I see the moment your hand reaches for the phone and then pauses before answering. I see you reading the message a second time instead of letting the first wave of excitement decide what it means. I see you beginning to ask a question you once would have been afraid to ask. That pause is not weakness. It may be evidence that wisdom is becoming stronger than urgency. You once believed strength meant moving before doubt could catch you. Now you are discovering another kind of strength, the ability to remain still long enough to understand what is actually in front of you. You once thought confidence meant saying yes without hesitation. Now you are learning that confidence can also say, "I need time to think about this." You once feared that careful questions might cause something good to disappear. Now you are beginning to understand that clarity is not the enemy of what is healthy and true. Beloved, this is the hidden growth I want you to notice. Waiting has not only made you tired, it has also made you more attentive. Disappointment has not only left questions behind, it has taught you that appearances cannot carry the whole weight of a decision. The things that almost worked, the promises that sounded better than they became, the moments when enthusiasm moved faster than understanding. All of them have made you more aware of what your heart needs before it can move with peace. I am not asking you to become suspicious because you have been disappointed before. I am inviting you to recognize the discernment that is beginning to grow where impulsiveness once lived. There is a difference. Suspicion says, something must be wrong. Wisdom says, I do not know enough yet. Suspicion creates a story before the facts arrive. Wisdom leaves room to observe. Suspicion can make every unknown detail feel threatening. Wisdom can remain calm while asking what still needs to be understood. My child, you do not have to call every hesitation fear. Sometimes hesitation is simply your heart refusing to be rushed beyond what you can clearly see. Imagine the moment again. An email arrives with an opportunity you did not expect. Someone makes a promise that touches a longing you have carried for years. A conversation suddenly seems to open a future you had almost stopped imagining. Your first response may still be joy. Let it be joy. Smile. Give thanks. Feel the relief. But then notice the new strength growing beside that excitement. You no longer have to build the entire future in your mind before the day is over. You can leave unanswered spaces unanswered for a little while. You can listen to what is said and also notice what is not yet clear. You can pay attention to consistency instead of being carried only by promises. You can notice whether reasonable questions are welcomed or resisted. You can ask whether the opportunity gives you room to think or depends upon pressure to keep you moving. None of this makes you difficult. None of this means you have lost faith. It means you are becoming willing to see more than what you desperately hope is true. That willingness is a quiet kind of courage. Perhaps you have been calling yourself overly cautious when what is actually developing is discernment. Perhaps you have been afraid that your questions reveal weakness when they may reveal maturity. Perhaps you thought the waiting season left you with nothing but exhaustion, yet now you can see that it also exposed patterns you once missed. You recognize urgency sooner. You hear fear hiding beneath excitement more clearly. You are beginning to separate the beauty of an opportunity from the pressure you feel to possess it. This is unseen growth. It does not announce itself loudly. It appears in the extra breath before the answer, the prayer before the commitment, the question before the assumption, the willingness to say, I need to look at this again. And my child, there is something deeply freeing about discovering that you do not have to know whether something is completely right or completely wrong in the first moment you encounter it. You can allow understanding to unfold. You can gather what is true before deciding what it means. You can move slowly without believing life is passing you by, so look at yourself differently now. You are not merely the tired person who has waited too long and is afraid to lose another chance. You are becoming someone who can receive good news without surrendering discernment, someone who can feel hope without handing hope the steering wheel, someone who can stand at an open threshold and remain peaceful enough to look beyond what first catches the eye. And now that you are beginning to see this strength differently, there is a practical question waiting for you. When something promising enters your ordinary life, what does wisdom actually ask you to do before you step forward? My child, perhaps this is why the waiting has felt so confusing. You thought you were waiting only for something to happen around you, while something was also being formed within you. You watched the calendar move. You counted the months. You noticed how many times you had to answer the same questions about what came next. From where you stood, waiting looked like empty space between where you were and where you wanted to be. But consider the seed beneath the soil. For a long time, nothing visible seems to happen. The surface remains quiet. No flower rises. No branch reaches toward the sun. Yet underneath, the seed is not wasting its season. Roots are beginning where no one can applaud them. Strength is developing before anything beautiful becomes visible. My child, I do not want you to believe that every delay was deliberately placed in your path, or that every disappointment contains an explanation you are required to discover. Life carries uncertainties that may remain mysterious. But even inside a season you would never have chosen, growth can still take place. Waiting can reveal what rushing keeps hidden. It can show you what you reach for when you are afraid, what you believe when answers are delayed, and how quickly you attach your peace to an outcome. Think about who you were when this season began. Perhaps you would have accepted almost anything that resembled progress. Perhaps the word opportunity was enough to make you move. Perhaps a promise sounded convincing simply because you desperately wanted it to be true. But now you have lived through enough uncertainty to understand that movement and direction are not always the same thing. Something can move quickly and still take you somewhere you never intended to go. This is why preparation is often quieter than arrival. A tree does not apologize for growing roots before bearing fruit. The roots are what allow it to remain steady when the weather changes. In the same way, patience has been teaching you how to remain present when you cannot control the timeline. Disappointment has been teaching you to listen beneath appearances. Unanswered questions have been teaching you not to build certainty from wishful thinking alone. Even the weariness you have carried has shown you something important. How vulnerable a tired heart can become to anything that promises immediate relief. That awareness matters now. Imagine that promising message still sitting on your phone. Yesterday you might have answered within minutes because you feared silence would cost you the opportunity. Today, perhaps you can set the phone down, make dinner, pray, sleep, and return to it with a clearer mind. Imagine the offer resting on the kitchen table. The words look exciting, but now you understand that excitement does not prevent you from reading carefully. Imagine someone making a beautiful promise about the future. You can appreciate the words while allowing time to show whether actions become consistent with them. This is not cynicism, it is growth becoming practical. Seasons change this way. Spring does not argue with winter. Morning does not accuse the night of lasting too long. Each season carries its own work, and some of the deepest work happens before anything appears finished. You may still wish your waiting had been shorter. You may still grieve opportunities that did not become what you hoped. You do not have to rename those disappointments as blessings just to prove that you have faith. You can acknowledge that they hurt while also recognizing what you now carry because you lived through them. More patience with uncertainty, more awareness of pressure, more willingness to ask questions, more respect for the difference between a promise and a pattern. My child, that is preparation. Not preparation as a guarantee that one specific reward is waiting at the end, but preparation as the strengthening of the person who will meet whatever comes next. The seed cannot see the season above the soil, yet its roots continue reaching deeper. You cannot see every consequence of the decision in front of you either. That is why you do not need to force certainty where certainty does not yet exist. You can allow process to do its quiet work. You can let time reveal what excitement cannot. You can let consistency speak louder than first impressions. And you can remember that waiting has already taught you how to survive the discomfort of not knowing immediately. So perhaps the question is changing. Instead of asking only, "Why did I have to wait so long?" you can begin asking, "What has this season taught me to notice now?" Because the patience you once thought was only delaying your life may be exactly what allows you to slow down long enough to recognize what deserves your trust. And soon Scripture will give that careful pause a name you may not have expected: wisdom. My child, the waiting has been doing more than teaching you how to endure time. It has been revealing the kind of person you are becoming when certainty is no longer available to carry you. There was a time when you may have believed wisdom meant always knowing the right answer. Now you are discovering that wisdom often begins with the humility to say, "I do not know enough yet." It does not panic when information is incomplete. It listens. It asks. It notices. It allows truth to become clearer before emotion turns possibility into certainty. That wisdom may seem quiet, but it is changing the way you move through ordinary moments. When an exciting message arrives, you can read it without immediately building your future around it. When someone makes a beautiful promise, you can appreciate their words while giving their actions time to speak. When an opportunity asks for your attention, you can consider it without believing you must possess it before you can feel secure. Something steady is forming inside you. Resilience is becoming more than the ability to survive disappointment. It is becoming the ability to remain open-hearted after disappointment without allowing the past to make every new possibility look dangerous. You do not need to become cold to become careful. You do not need to expect betrayal in order to protect your peace. You can remember what previous seasons taught you without forcing every new person or opportunity to answer for what happened before. That is resilience with tenderness still inside it. And patience is changing too. It once felt like something imposed upon you, a long hallway you were forced to walk because the answer had not arrived. Now patience can become something you choose. It can be the space between receiving information and responding to it. It can be one night of sleep before signing your name. It can be the willingness to have another conversation before making a commitment. It can be the strength to say, I am interested, but I need time to consider this carefully. Patience is no longer only about waiting for life to happen. It is becoming the ability to give wisdom enough time to speak. My child, compassion has also been growing in places you may not have noticed. Because you know what it is like to wait, you are becoming less likely to judge someone whose life appears delayed. Because you know how emotional fatigue can influence a decision, you can recognize that people sometimes rush not because they are foolish, but because they are tired. Because you know what disappointment feels like, you can sit beside another person's uncertainty without offering shallow explanations. You do not need to tell them that everything happens for a reason when you do not know the reason. You can simply remain kind, patient, and present. That compassion is part of your growth too. Notice how these qualities belong together. Wisdom helps you see clearly. Resilience keeps yesterday from controlling tomorrow. Patience gives clarity room to develop. Compassion keeps discernment from becoming harsh. Together, they are forming a steadier way of living. You can look closely without becoming suspicious. You can remember pain without assuming it will repeat itself. You can ask difficult questions without becoming unkind. You can take your time without apologizing for needing clarity. This is the person emerging from the season you once thought contained nothing but delay. Not someone who can predict every outcome, but someone less easily controlled by urgency. Not someone who never feels excitement, but someone who can enjoy excitement without making it responsible for direction. Not someone who possesses perfect certainty, but someone willing to seek truth before making a promise to the future. And this is where Scripture gives language to what has been developing within you. Proverbs teaches that the prudent person notices danger and takes refuge, while the inexperienced continue without considering what lies ahead. That wisdom does not command you to imagine danger everywhere. It teaches you that noticing matters. Prudence is not panic. Carefulness is not cowardice. Asking what you need to know is not unbelief. Sometimes maturity looks remarkably ordinary. Reading the details, checking what can be verified, seeking trustworthy counsel, praying before committing, and paying attention when words and patterns do not agree. You are becoming capable of doing these things without allowing fear to dominate the room. So when you stand again before something promising, remember who this season has been forming within you. Bring wisdom to the excitement. Bring resilience to the memories. Bring patience to the pressure. Bring compassion even to yourself when you do not know immediately what to do. You are not required to become a person who never hesitates. You are becoming a person who understands that a thoughtful pause can be holy ground for discernment. And once you recognize what has been built within you, the next question becomes deeply personal. Can you release the need for this one opportunity to work long enough to choose from freedom instead of fear? My child, now the invitation becomes simple, even if it does not feel easy. You do not have to decide the entire future tonight. You do not have to force yourself to know whether everything in front of you will become what you hope. I am asking for something closer, something you can do before the next message is answered, before the next promise is accepted, before your imagination runs another mile ahead of the truth. Bring this opportunity to me with open hands, not because you must reject it, but because you no longer need to hold it as though losing it would mean losing your future. Tell me what you want from it. Tell me why it matters. Tell me what you are afraid will happen if it disappears. You do not need polished words. If all you can say is, Jesus, I want this so much that I am afraid to look too closely, begin there. Honesty is a better place for discernment than pretending you feel no attachment. Perhaps you have been gripping an outcome because waiting made you weary. Perhaps you have already imagined the relief, the security, the companionship, the recognition, or the new beginning this could bring. Let those hopes come into prayer too. Surrender does not require you to stop hoping. It means your hope no longer has to become a demand. It means you can say, "This is what I desire, but I will not ask this one opportunity to carry the weight of my entire life." Then release the urgency. If someone wants an answer immediately, you are allowed to ask whether time is available. If details remain unclear, you are allowed to seek clarity. If something can be verified, verify it. If wise counsel would help, speak with someone trustworthy. If your emotions are moving faster than your understanding, give yourself enough room for them to settle. None of these actions guarantee a perfect decision, but they can help you move without allowing fear to choose for you. And perhaps there is another thing to release: resentment toward the waiting itself. You may have spent so long asking why your season took this shape that every new possibility now feels responsible for making those years worthwhile. But no opportunity can carry that burden. No relationship can repay every lonely evening. No job can erase every season of uncertainty. No answer can go backward and make every disappointment disappear. Let the past be honest without requiring the future to compensate for it. If there is someone you need to forgive, forgiveness can begin quietly. You do not have to deny what happened or restore trust where trust has not been rebuilt. You can simply refuse to let an old wound make every new decision for you. And if the person you struggle to forgive is yourself, bring that here too. Maybe you ignored a warning once. Maybe you trusted too quickly. Maybe you stayed longer than wisdom would have chosen. Maybe you walked away from something and still wonder whether you made the wrong decision. You cannot return to yesterday with what you know today. You can only carry today's wisdom forward. So release the demand to punish yourself into becoming wiser. Shame does not produce clear vision. Humility can learn without cruelty. My child, trust me enough to leave some questions unanswered for a little longer. Trust does not mean assuming that everything will work exactly as you hope. It means you do not need to control the outcome before you can remain grounded. You can pray, examine, ask, listen, and then take the next faithful step available to you. If clarity is not here yet, you do not have to manufacture it. Let time reveal what time can reveal. Let consistency reveal what words alone cannot. Let peace have room to return after the first rush of excitement becomes quiet. And when fear whispers, "What if you miss your chance?" bring that fear back to me. When your mind says, "You must make this work," loosen your grip again. Surrender may happen more than once. It may happen tonight, then again tomorrow morning when you reach for your phone. It may happen when another message arrives, when a deadline approaches, or when hope begins writing a future that has not happened yet. Each time, return. Open your hands. Tell the truth. Ask for wisdom. Choose what can be chosen without pretending you control what cannot. The decision before you matters, but it does not deserve to become your master. You are allowed to stand at this threshold without being pulled through it by fear or pushed away from it by suspicion. Stay close to me until you can look at what is before you without needing it to rescue you. Because when you no longer need this one opportunity to prove that your life is finally moving, you become free to ask a deeper question, not merely, "How do I keep this?" but, "Who am I, even if I let it go?" My child, when you stop asking one opportunity to carry the weight of your entire future, something beautiful begins to happen inside you. The horizon becomes wider again. Until now, you may have looked at what is in front of you as though everything depended on this one moment. If it works, life moves forward. If it disappears, you fall behind. If the answer is yes, hope survives. If the answer is no, you return to uncertainty. But your life is larger than that narrow picture. There are chapters you cannot see from where you are standing, conversations that have not happened, lessons you have not learned, people you have not met, and possibilities you have not yet considered. I am not telling you exactly what will come, because hope does not require a prediction. I am inviting you to remember that what you can see today is not the full measure of what tomorrow can hold. Perhaps the opportunity before you will become something meaningful. Perhaps closer examination will reveal reasons to move slowly. Perhaps you will discover that what first looked perfect is simply incomplete. Perhaps you will walk away. You do not need to know which outcome will become yours before you allow hope to breathe again. A new chapter can begin in more than one way. Sometimes it begins when circumstances change. Sometimes it begins when you change the way you meet them. Restoration may look like trusting your judgment again after a season that made you question yourself. It may look like being able to receive good news without immediately becoming afraid of losing it. It may look like entering a relationship without asking another person to repair every place where you once felt unwanted. It may look like considering a new job without believing the position must prove your value. It may look like reading an offer carefully, asking thoughtful questions, and realizing that you no longer feel ashamed for needing clarity. These changes may not look dramatic from the outside, but they can become a quiet breakthrough within you. The breakthrough may be the moment you notice that urgency no longer owns your heartbeat. It may be the morning when you check your phone and realize you can wait before responding. It may be the conversation where someone pressures you for an answer and you calmly say that you need time. It may be the moment a promising possibility changes, and instead of collapsing into the belief that you have lost your only chance, you allow yourself to be disappointed without allowing disappointment to define the rest of your story. That is what freedom can begin to look like. My child, there may still be opportunities ahead that surprise you. There may be ordinary doors you once would have overlooked because they did not arrive with enough excitement. There may be paths that become clearer slowly rather than announcing themselves all at once. There may be relationships where trust is built through consistency instead of grand promises. There may be work that grows meaningful over time rather than instantly making everything feel complete. There may be restoration that arrives not by returning you to what was, but by giving you a healthier way to walk forward from what happened. These are possibilities, not guarantees, and they do not need to become guarantees to give you hope. Hope can be quieter than certainty. It can simply say, "My story is not trapped inside this one decision." That truth gives you room to breathe. It gives you permission to look closely without fearing that carefulness will destroy your future. It allows you to receive what is good with gratitude and release what is not right without believing you have been abandoned to emptiness. And when you cannot tell immediately which is which, you can remain patient while understanding grows. You are not standing before the last opportunity your life will ever contain. You are standing in one moment of a life that is still unfolding. So let tomorrow remain larger than your imagination. Do not fill every unknown space with fear, and do not fill it with promises that have not been made. Leave room for grace. Leave room for wisdom. Leave room for ordinary goodness you cannot yet picture. Leave room for the possibility that the future may become meaningful in ways different from the ones you have rehearsed. And as you stand at this threshold, remember that the deepest security available to you is not knowing exactly what waits on the other side. It is knowing where your identity rests before you ever cross it. You belong to Christ before the answer arrives. You belong to Christ if the opportunity remains. You belong to Christ if wisdom leads you away from it. No single yes can make you more His, and no single no can make you less His. That is why you can face what comes next with an open heart instead of a desperate one. The future may still contain questions, but those questions no longer have to frighten you into rushing. There is another way to stand before the unknown, and it is quieter than urgency, steadier than excitement, and strong enough to remain even when the outcome changes. It is peace. My child, let peace be the final thing you carry from this moment. Not certainty about every detail, not suspicion toward everything that looks promising, not fear that something hidden is waiting around every corner. Carry peace, because you have learned that wisdom does not need panic in order to protect what matters. You can stand before an opportunity with an open heart and open eyes. You can feel excitement without letting excitement become your guide. You can welcome hope without asking hope to predict the future. You can pause without believing you are falling behind. And when something deserves a closer look, you can look carefully without becoming afraid. Remember the tired heart that first wanted to rush because it had waited so long. Treat that heart gently. When another message arrives and you feel the old urgency rising, do not shame yourself. Become still. When a promise sounds like everything you have wanted to hear, receive the moment without building your entire tomorrow around it. When someone asks for an answer before you feel ready, remember that wisdom is allowed to ask questions. When details remain unclear, give clarity room to grow. Pray. Observe. Verify what can be verified. Listen to trustworthy counsel when you need it. Then allow what is true to become clearer without forcing yourself to manufacture certainty. Scripture calls the prudent person to notice what is ahead rather than moving forward without thought. Let that truth settle differently in you now. Prudence is not a command to live afraid. It is permission to pay attention. Discernment does not tell you that everyone is untrustworthy. It teaches you not to confuse beautiful words with proven character, pressure with purpose, or excitement with direction. You do not need to imagine danger where there is no evidence. You only need enough humility to admit when you do not yet know. There is peace in that honesty, and there is freedom in remembering that no single opportunity has the authority to define your life. If what is before you proves healthy, you can receive it with gratitude and wisdom. If questions arise, you can investigate them without panic. If time reveals something you did not notice at first, you can respond to what you learn. If you eventually decide to walk away, you can grieve what you hoped it would become without believing you have lost your only chance for a meaningful future. Your identity was never waiting inside that offer. Your worth was never hidden inside another person's approval. Your belonging was never dependent upon one door remaining open. You belonged to Christ before the decision, within the decision, and after the decision. Let that security loosen the pressure in your heart. You do not have to make one moment carry the weight of your entire story. So when you return to your ordinary day, return differently. Perhaps the phone is still sitting beside you. Perhaps the email still needs an answer. Perhaps the conversation is unfinished. Perhaps nothing outside you has changed at all. That is all right. The purpose of this quiet moment was never to hand you a verdict about something only you can examine responsibly. It was to remind you that you do not have to be driven by fear while you examine it. You can take another breath. You can pray before replying. You can sleep before deciding when time allows. You can notice whether actions remain consistent after the first beautiful words have faded. You can ask what needs to be asked, and through all of it you can remain close to me. May wisdom steady you when excitement becomes loud. May patience give truth enough time to reveal itself. May resilience keep old disappointments from writing the meaning of new possibilities. May compassion keep your discernment gentle rather than suspicious. May the peace of Christ guard your heart when you cannot yet see what comes next. You do not need to know the entire road tonight. You only need enough light for the next faithful step. And if tomorrow brings another question, another possibility, or another moment when your heart begins racing ahead, return to this quiet place with me. Bring the excitement, bring the uncertainty, bring the desire, bring the fear of missing out. You do not have to hide any of it before you pray. Let it become still in my presence until urgency no longer speaks louder than wisdom. Then look again, listen again. Take the next step when it can be taken with integrity and peace. My child, remember this when the moment comes. You do not have to fear an open door, and you do not have to rush through it. You can stand at the threshold with Christ, look carefully, and let peace walk with you into whatever comes next.